How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the homestead. Today we're going to be talking about how I'm going to attempt to preserve this onion crop, not just through winter, but possibly indefinitely via dehydration. Now, don't take any of this as instruction. This is my first time attempting to dehydrate anything. I just took this thing out of the box about an hour ago. So like I said, don't take any of this as instructions. This is just my first time doing it, and I wanted to show you my process. Now, I'm sure some of you guys are wondering, why did I pull these onions so early? Well, the reason is they started to go to flower. And the problem with onions is every other year, they're going to go to flower and produce seeds rather than a bulb. And those bulbs, if they do produce a flower, will not store, because their whole purpose is in producing seeds, not the bulb. So that means they're not going to store very well through winter if we just leave them like normal onions to dry. So we need to speed up the process and dehydrate them. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Now, there's two things I want to mention before we attempt to dehydrate these onions. Number one, the reason why I'm out here on my front porch is because dehydrating is essentially the process of baking the moisture out of something over an extended period of time. 6, 12, sometimes more hours. And with onions, that can cause a lot of smell. Like I've said, I've never dehydrated anything before, but imagine having a whole bunch of sliced onions inside your oven on the warm setting for about half a day. I don't want that smell in my kitchen, and that's why we're here outside on my front porch. The second thing I want to mention is this is not the entire onion crop. This is only the part of the crop that began to go to flower. Less than 50% of what we planted. So whether you think having all of these go to flower and not produce full-size bulbs and only these small bulbs is a failure or not, I think it's a success. Because I spent less than $4 on all of the onion sets that I planted. And I think we have more than $4 worth of onions right here, small as they may be. So with all that out of the way, what we're going to be doing, or what I'm going to be doing rather, off camera, so I'm going to wash these, I'm going to trim the tops and the roots off, and then I'm also going to peel the first probably layer or two off of these bulbs. The reason for that, washing's pretty obvious, cutting off the roots and the tops are pretty obvious, but the reason I'm removing the first couple layers is like right here. Similar to onions you would get in the grocery store, typically the first few layers are a little bit woody, not necessarily what you want to have in your onions, whatever you're cooking. You don't necessarily want to have that outside piece. So I'm just going to pull those few layers off, and then I'm going to show you how thick I'm slicing these before they go into the dehydrator, and before I get too carried away slicing all of them. So without any further ado, I'm going to start cleaning these onions up. So we got a couple onions here that I'm going to clean on camera for you. And rather than taking them inside and washing them in the sink to clean the dirt off, all I'm going to do is peel off the first couple layers. And that's going to leave us with a perfectly clean, beautiful, small but mighty onion bulb right there. Now, all I'm going to do is chop it into, give or take, 1/4-inch pieces. Just some nice slices. Then eventually, once we get up to the stalk, you can see, rather than having rings, we're starting to get into like this one solid section. That's the stalk. We don't want this. Those outer layers, that's what would become the onion. But unfortunately, because once again, so small, going to flower, blah, 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 we hit the stalk rather than having a nice full-size bulb. Toss that down there, transfer those over to the tray, move to the next one. Same thing. Peeling the outside layers. Probably would have been better to cut the roots off last, but nevertheless, not going to matter all that much. Because I am gardening 100% organically with no manure that has not been composted. Any sort of manure that I have has 100% been composted down. I'm not concerned about the dirt that's in my garden. If it was to get on some of the onions, like right there, you can see a little fleck. Not worried about it. I'll survive. All the onions have been sliced, and we ended up with a full 2 trays. So it's not a massive haul, but nevertheless, pretty good. We're just about ready to start the dehydrator. Now the reason I have 4 trays on here, even though 2 of them are empty, is because according to the instructions, I need at least 4 trays on this guy for it to work properly. So we have 2 empty trays on the dehydrator. The other thing the instruction manual talks a little bit about is the temperature. Not as much as I would have liked, because they basically say you gotta play around with it. But they give some general guidelines, like most vegetables like to be dehydrated at about 130 to 140 degrees, and they also mention that it's typically better to start at a higher temperature than you plan on running at. So we have the temperature gauge set at roughly 145 degrees, which is once again a little bit warmer than what I'll probably end up running for the majority of the time, just to give it that little bit of kickstart to heat things up. All we need to do now is put the lid on, fire it up. And it is making a little bit of noise, but just sitting right here, it's not really that loud. I would compare it to a standard dishwasher, and even then, most dishwashers would probably be a little bit louder than this guy here. I'll also mention that while I am smelling that kind of sulfury onion smell that I alluded to at the start when I said we're doing it outside for a reason, if you were dehydrating something sweet like bananas, apples, strawberries, something that wouldn't smell like sulfur, I would have no qualms doing this inside my kitchen. I think that would probably smell really good. So we're gonna leave this guy for a couple hours just to get it started, once again at that 145 degree temperature. Then we're gonna walk it back a little bit to probably a 135. Just gonna play around with that since that's kind of in the sweet spot for vegetables, as it says here in the manual. And then hopefully within about 12 hours, we'll have some dehydrated onion slices. It's the following evening, our onions are done dehydrating, all jarred up, and I think we got a decent amount. Not a massive haul like I mentioned yesterday, but nevertheless, pretty damn good. And I actually let these dehydrate for about 25 hours, believe it or not. Reason being is because I don't think you could over dehydrate something, but you could definitely under dehydrate it if you're planning on storing it for a long period of time. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Even though this has nothing to do with dehydrating onions, I just can't help myself but to put some fireworks into this video. So let me flip the camera around and show you the couple that we're going to be lighting off tonight. Here's all we're going to be lighting. Not very much, since I'm the only person that's going to be watching these, besides my neighbors, of course. But nevertheless, I just couldn't help but to light some fireworks off for the 4th. So we got 2 100 strips of firecrackers, a flashing thunder 10-ball Roman candle, and I actually really like these guys. I'm glad that I got 2 packs. The reports on them, pretty damn good for the price that I paid. And then, of course, a pack of OG Whistling Moon Travelers with report. If you watch my fireworks stash video, I mentioned that these were the first ever types of bottle rockets that I got when I was probably, 9-10 years old maybe. And then couple fountains that I got. Didn't include these in my stash video because I got these after the fact. Moonshine from Black Cat, and that is actually a spinning fountain, so first time I'm trying one of those. Big Cat, and then the cakes that we have, Tsunami Warning, Backyard Perfection, and then the 2 Ace of Spades that I've had for, gosh, at least 3 years at this point, so about time I'm setting those off. We have 3 ball shells. Obviously, they're not ball shells. They're fake ball shells. I took the hemispheres off and then put into these DR9 tubes. I talked about that in my fireworks stash video as well. And then the rest of the shells that we have going over. We have 3 Magnus Ghost Killers of just some random effects that I pulled out of my ammo can. And then 2 Black Cat Diablos. Once again, just randomly pulled out of the ammo can. And of course, to finish it off, 2 snowball shells, because you got to have some snowballs on the 4th of July, right? So I'm going to let it get a little bit darker out, and then we're going to start setting these off. It's about 9:30, and we're going to get things started with some Whistling Moon Travelers. So fun to play with these guys. I don't know if it's light enough for you to see, but I actually drilled a couple holes into my little fence post here to launch some bottle rockets. Let's see if we can get 7 to go off at once. Next up, we got the Flashing Thunder Roman Candle. And that's why you don't hold Roman candles. Those are pretty loud for that little candle, I'm gonna tell ya. Moving on to Moonshine. This is the spinning fountain from Black Cat. See how she runs. Pretty good crackle. See some spinning. Come on. Any day now. That was ridiculously loud and didn't spin worth a damn. How about 2 100 strips of firecrackers at the same time? Oh yeah! And now the big cat. Kind of looking forward to this guy. Let's see. Oh yeah! Very nice. All right, I'm just gonna say, depending on price, the big cat from Black Cat definitely has my approval. That was a really good fountain. Let's hit these fake ball shells. Once again, I took the hemispheres off of these guys, so they're just miniature canister shells now. Decent break. Oh yeah, that was a good one. Damn, not bad for fake ball shells. All right, we're gonna hit a ghost killer and then a Diablo shell. Nice. All right, Diablo, Black Cat. Holy, that was a good shell. Love a good willow. All right, another ghost killer. Wow. That was incredible. Ghost killer on the left, Diablo on the right. All right, 2 Ace of Spades. Rest in peace, Lemmy. I think I got them both. We'll see. Yeah. Wasn't too bad for a cheap little cake. All right, here we go. Grand finale, tsunami warning and backyard perfection, followed by a pair of snowballs. Let's get it. Happy 4th, everyone. Ooh, yeah. Oh, I love those willows. Let's get those snowballs. See if I can get them both. Yup. Woo! That's gonna wrap this video up, you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed those fireworks as much as I did setting them off. Some of those were pretty damn good. So please leave a like if you enjoyed, comment down below if you have any questions, subscribe if you haven't done so already, because we have a garlic crop to harvest in the next video. So we're going to be doing that. I'm very, very excited because I've been harvesting the scapes left and right. So I'm really excited to finally be getting some more bulbs, get those drying, get those preserved. And yeah, with that, you guys, thank you for watching. Think for yourself, shoot straight, and I will see you next time.